Another movement from Expressionism that's very interesting is Dada. And right away, hopefully, the name makes you say, what? Like, what are we looking at here? Because Dada was one of the first movements to say, what if art could be anything but art? What if anyone could be an artist? What if art isn't what you expect? And so they even named their movement this nonsensical word that no one ever said what it meant. So there's different sort of stories about what Dada means. Does it mean like yes, yes? Because da is yes in Russian. Is it just nonsense? What is it? No one really knows. But that should give you an insight into the movement's thoughts. And I gave you this quote from Andre Breton, who will be involved more heavily with the Surrealist movement. He will actually write their manifesto. And he says, Cubism was a school of painting. The idea that Cubism was really challenging how painting was made. Futurism, a political movement, because again, futurism, which we didn't look at, is about history, and you can read about it in your text. And Dada is more so a state of mind, right? So it's about how you think about things. This picture here actually is Hugo Ball. He is doing a sound poem at the Cabaret Voltaire in Zurich, Switzerland. The Cabaret Voltaire was a gathering space for Dada artists. And Switzerland is important because a lot of Dadaists were trying to flee World War I, and the Swiss, of course, are a neutral nation. So they were going to Zurich to sort of hang out and practice this, what they said was nonsensical art. The word poem, by the way, that he read sounded like Gaja Berry Bimba, Lis Gasa Glasula, like it was sounds. It wasn't really words. And you'll notice he has this crazy getup on, right, with this witch doctor's hat and this kind of weird cloak that looks like wings, right? And he actually couldn't walk in this thing. They actually had to like put him up onto the stage, which I think is a hilarious story, and then like get him back down because he couldn't walk in it. But again, Dada is really about the hilarity of what you're doing, the possibilities of what you're doing. They actually, one of the Dadaists, Tristan Tzara, said, Dada is like elective imbecility. You're not an imbecile, you're not stupid, but you elect to act strange, right? Just because you feel like it, right? And Dada was really about like, how can you make anything art? So here you have Duchamp's 50 cc's of Paris air. First off, you have to trust that this is actually Paris air. So that's the first little twist, right? You have to trust the joke. And you have a quote from Jean Arp, who said, the most important thing about Dada, it seems to me, is that Dada is despised what is commonly regarded as art, but put the whole universe on the lofty throne of art. And this is a true quote, this idea of what if everything was art? What if anything can be? How does that change the game of art? Which leads us to probably the most famous Dada piece, which is Duchamp's The Fountain. And this is one of my favorite artworks to discuss. It's got such a rich history and really informs a lot of the art history that comes after it. As I mentioned before, I'm a 20th centuryist. I'm a modern contemporary person. And when I did my master's degree, I had a whole seminar on Duchamp because he's considered such an important father, in a sense, to the rest of contemporary art, 20th century art. You got to know your Duchamp. And the reason why is that he figured out, how do you go past the usual in art? How do you like re-energize it? And one of the things he said is like, what if art's really not about making things anymore or skill? What if it's about selecting things and positioning things and saying that things are art? So here he took a urinal, that's what it is, and he sent it off to this show that he actually was on the jury for. He was part of this group called the Société Anonyme, the Anonymous Society. And one of the things the group wanted to do is they wanted to have a show that was not juried. When a show is juried, you have a group of people who pick the pieces. So in a sense, you're saying there's quality, there's worth, there's standards, right? This group was saying, what if we just accept everybody's work? We don't say it's a quality judgment. We just let everybody send stuff in and we show everything. And Duchamp is like, what can I do with this, right? Because he was actually part of the group. So he uses the pseudonym or the fake name R. Mutt. You see it on the piece. You'll notice it's not signed Marcel Duchamp. And he sends this in, and he wants to see what the reaction of the fellow members will be. And it turns out that they were kind of hypocritical. They were like, oh, it's a toilet. We can't show a toilet, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, the devil's advocate saying, well, Mr. Mutt sent this in. And you can only imagine the back and forth, and him being the actual artist of the work, sitting back like, like laughing at their hypocrisy. And I always tell my students the fact that there is a line in the sand for most people where they say, I'm so open-minded, and then you get to something and they go, well, not about that, right? So he was saying, yeah, I'm showing you to be hypocrites. And here's the best part about Duchamp is that he was a long game kind of guy, is that he never tells anyone about what he did. It's not found out until his death. So like many, many years later, people are like, oh, that crafty French bastard, right? So he knew how to do a joke, do an action and stick with it, right? Because he selected the item and not made it, he called it a ready-made. He said, I picked this up, I picked it. I, through the selection, give it worth. This is a really different attitude when art history teaches you, look at like Michelangelo, right? Oh, look at the skill level, right? Things like that. Now saying it's a ready-made, like that was a deal breaker really for a lot of people. I love it personally. This is another piece he did, which we're speaking English, right? So we say LHOOQ. What the heck does this mean, right? And if you speak French, you know that the letters sound different. So it really sounds more like la h o o cool, which I gave you the French phrase. If you say it really fast over and over and over again, it sounds like elle a chaude a cool. If you speak French, you know that means she has a hot ass. So again, it's a joke. He called these assisted ready-mades. You'll notice he's given the Mona Lisa little mustache, little goatee. He was playing with objects and sort of shifting them to have some fun with them. This is Man Ray doing a piece called The Gift. I think you would agree this is a pretty horrible gift. It's an iron with spikes on it. So you'll notice that this sort of like black sense of humor comes up. And one of my favorites, this is not a very well-known Dadaist, but I always love showing this piece by Soufflot, which is Portrait of an Imbecile. And you'll notice what it is. It's actually a mirror. So whenever I'm in art galleries, I watch people and we tend to stand back and look at art pieces and we nod, right? And we say, oh, I love the composition. And we try to sound smart. Or, a lot of people do anyway. And I can only imagine how shocked people were when they went up to look at the tag and went, a Portrait of an Imbecile, and it's a mirror and it's them. And it's the art insulting you. So that's what Dadas were about. They're about the unexpected, the avant-garde. Can anything be art? And, can art kind of be a joke or an insult? Fabulous, right?